So here we are in June, and these are my top tips for using your upright cold frame from June through to August. And as you can see, the weather is glorious and the potatoes have gone a little bit sad and a little bit limp looking. Flowers that were starting last time have never really developed, so I'm a little concerned about them, not sure what sort of a crop we'll get. I have had a little sneak peek in the bag to just make sure we had got at least some to show you. So they're the first two potatoes harvested. So now I'm going to open up the flap at the front and see what we've got. We've not got a great crop here. I'm a little bit disappointed after all the work, but that's what you get with gardening. Sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, and it's all a learning curve for all of us. And as you can see, there's one or two sort of quite small potatoes there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the second sack, leave those at least another week to see if we can get a little bit more of a crop from the second bag. So here we are, the end of June. I've already harvested one bag and they were a little bit disappointing. On the positive side, I did get a nice meal out of it and they were delicious. What I'm going to do is harvest these, do the big reveal. I'm going to tip them out here and see what we get. The second bag again hasn't produced a large enough crop really for me to be happy with that, but we have got some potatoes out of it. I've looked into some of the reasons why the crop might have failed. I think I've damaged some of the stems. I've moved the cold frame once, and I've also been moving the potato bags in and out of the cold frame a little bit for the filming purposes. It was interesting, on a recent visit to the RHS Wisley, I spoke to Mario, who's the head gardener there in the kitchen garden area. I noticed that he got his potatoes supported in the sacks, and he said that was because they grow quite leggy, so they get quite a lot of top growth on, and he likes to support those so that none of the stems get broken. And that's the best reason I can think why my crop's been so poor. So next time when I'm trying these and I'm growing them in a greenhouse, what I shall do as well is adapt Mario's system and put some canes in and support the foliage. Gardening's all about a learning curve, so hopefully next year we'll have a bit better crop than this. So it's 2 weeks since we sowed these seeds, and as you can see we've got a lot of growth coming on. So the runner beans are really doing well and really put some growth on. The courgettes, I've got 2 poking through. That one's the best one. The chilli seeds are just starting to poke through there, and the kale's doing really well. So all I'm doing with these kale seeds is I'm just thinning them so I can get a few separated out. Gently tease the roots out. Here I'm using a cane, only holding on to the leaf, not onto the stem. Make a hole and very gently push the roots down and firm the compost, and these will hopefully grow on into strong individual plants that I'll be able to put out into the garden once the danger of frost's gone. So as you can see, the upright cold frame at the moment is looking a little bit sparse. I've taken out the staging piece and put the shelf back in. I've put in there some tomatoes and also an aubergine plant. The kale plants, they took on really well, and I've planted those out in the veg plot, and likewise the runner beans that we sowed, they did really well, and we've got those now growing on support canes. And lastly, we planted out the courgette plants. So today what I'm going to do is the chilli plants that we planted. They've done really well, but what I'm going to do today is plant those on. I've got some tomato plants there, so I've brought 2 types of tomato plants. I tend to use pots rather than grow bags. I just found I have better success with those. So I've got some 10-inch plant pots there, and I've just used some number 2 compost. We've got a support cane here that I'm going to tie into the shelf because I think it makes a great support system for the tomatoes, and then I'll let the tomatoes grow up there, and then when they reach the roof I'll take out the growing tip at that point. When I first started growing tomatoes, one of the things that always confused me was taking out the side shoots. There is the main stem, and that's the side shoot you need to be taking out. It's the one that grows in between the side lateral and the main stem there. And what I would normally do at that size is pinch that out. What I'm going to do for the purposes of the film, just so you can see exactly which one I'm taking out, is use a knife there and take him out, making sure I don't cut the other stem. I'm going to take the rest out on both of these plants, and I'm going to tie them into the support and tie the supports to the shelf so that they've got a good sturdy framework to grow up. These are the chilli plants that I've set off from seed, and as you can see I've got a good crop. I have been thinning them out as I've gone along. See, I've perhaps left them a little bit too long. I should have transplanted them before now. What we've got in here is a number 2 compost, and I've mixed that with a little bit of grit, horticultural grit in there, just to give it a little bit of drainage. And I'm just going to take these plants one at a time, try and get as much of the developed root as we can with each one, and pop them in. As you can see, look, a real good root system already developing, and they'll really benefit from being transplanted. So there we go. So I'm going to give that one a water before I forget, and we'll pop those in there. We'll see how they develop, and we'll look at how the tomatoes are fruiting and how the chilies are developing in the next video.